What are you, and why do you get a full quest line? Ladies, gentlemen, and adventurers of all ages, Baldurs Gate 3 has been out for a fair bit of time now, definitely more than long enough to really put a good dent into the game for most people, but while the most enjoyable way to do a first playthrough may be to go in completely blind and just stumble into whatever you happen to find, I do always find having a cool objective as far as something to work towards always helps, which is part of why I like doing these videos. A collection of useful and interesting items within the game that could easily be missed if you don't visit a specific location or do a certain interaction, but are impactful enough as items to make you wish that you did know about them. Today is strictly about Act 3, so if you are somehow still not here, be wary of vague spoilers, though of course, as is the nature of this, we won't actually do anything overly story related. I will generally show you locations first, then what actually happens there to make the items exist to try and be spoiler friendly as well. Without further ado then, let's break on in with our first item of the day, the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel. This is an absolutely incredible ring in the right hands, and it's extremely easily missed too. Right at the beginning of Act 3, you are placed in Rivington, and directly west of the spawn there is a circus running in town. One of the stalls near the entrance has a djinn running a wheel game that he is of course cheating at to make sure no one wins, but you can pickpocket him and steal his ring to stop him from cheating, then play the game and you will win. So he banishes you to a random place in the jungle. Nice prize. This is where you get the legendary weapon Nile Runa, but that is also much more obvious to pick up as it's right beside the exit of the area. There is however another item in this jungle which you can easily miss and you don't come back here so you wouldn't get it again, and that is this ring. On the southwestern tip of the area, if you just walk to that corner, the furthest that direction you can go, there is a series of jumps you can take to climb up to an upper area. In this area there is a skeleton in a little camp. The backpack beside the skeleton holds this ring for you. What the ring actually does then is really cool. It makes it so after you hit with a weapon attack, that same turn you can cast any illusion or enchantment spell as a bonus action instead of an action. Meaning if you have a class or subclass built around mixing martial and magic combat styles, you can get 2 attacks and a spell off in the same turn, which is just a nasty amount of turn efficiency. For our second item of the day then, we're moving on to the city proper area, specifically the lower city, and right beside where you first access the lower city at the Baldurs Gate, there is the Stormshore Tabernacle location. This is a place of worship. If you walk in and speak to the leader though, you will find out that he is also a secret vendor, not being marked as one on the map, and the most interesting thing that he will actually be able to sell you is the Reviving Hands. This is a pair of gloves that makes it so whenever you heal a creature, they get the effects of Blade Ward, which gives them resistance against bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing damage, and whenever you revive a creature, it gets the effects of Death Ward, which gives them temporary HP the next time an attack would otherwise kill them. On top of that, it also gives you +1 to strength saving throws, and it gives you 1 use of Revivify per long rest for an extra revive. Tons of value in these gloves, they're just absolutely amazing. The third item then is in the same location, but in a bit more of an indirect way. In the corner of the room, there is an entrance to a cellar. You have to be sneaky in order to actually get into this without being caught, and in here is where the offerings to the gods are stored. There are some traps inside of here, so you have to sneak your way into the big room that has the chests, and in here you want to be extremely minimalistic, because every item you take from the room gives you a debuff that gets worse with more items. It is easily removable, but it gets much more difficult to deal with the more things that you take. So we're only taking 1 thing from this room, which is from the chest in front and center of the chamber, and this item is the Amulet of the Devout. This gives you +2 to spell save DC, but far more importantly, if you have cleric levels, it gives you an extra use of channel divinity. This is great for clerics of all kinds, but especially if you multi-classed into cleric for just a couple of levels, as this can count as basically doubling your amount of divinities if so. Again, picking up an item from here will give you a curse. Just use any method of removing curses from characters. You'll have to kill an enemy, and that's it. It'll be completely sorted. No actual negative long term to taking this. Fourth up today then is where stuff starts to get a little bit more odd and a little bit more obscure, and you want to head to the House of Grief, which is over here in the lower city. Talk to the attendant inside, and this is going to start rounding up Shadowheart's story a little bit. Getting into that, you'll be led into a side room, and then a staircase will be revealed after some dialogue. Take it down to reach the Cloister of Somber Embrace. Simply travel in a straight line down the hall to reach the leader of the area and have a conversation. Then combat will ensue. At the end of the combat, you will get the choice to spare or kill the leader, and if you choose to kill them, if you choose the technically evil option, you actually get a full-on legendary shield, Viconia's Walking Fortress, which you can pick up off of their body. This has +3 to AC, so higher than normal shield. Rebuke of the Mighty gives you a reaction to being hit that lets you deal 2d4 force damage and knock the enemy prone. You also get advantage on saving throws against spells, and spell attack rolls against you have disadvantage. On top of that, it gives you the Reflective Shell unique action, which is is a unique ability that you can use once per short rest to reflect any projectiles that hit you for 2 turns, which is nuts. Then it also lets you use Warding Bond once per long rest as well. A ridiculously, really solid shield, honestly. In the same area then, on the full western side of the room, there is a big locked door that you can just pick your way through, and this brings you into the Chamber of Loss area. Your first time in here, some cutscene stuff will happen with Shadowheart, of course, but when it is over, she will tell you that she wants to leave. You do not want to leave immediately because on the very western edge of this room is an item called the Mirror of Loss. Interact with it and you'll soon realize its purpose, but to us, its purpose is the ability to give us a +2 stat bonus permanently if you interact with it right, which is pretty damn solid. So talk to the mirror and you'll get the option to do some knowledge checks. You need to pass both religion checks to continue. One of them's DC 20, one of them's DC 25. I'd say this is worth using inspirations on too personally, just to make sure that you get it. Then you're continuing to the next section of the conversation. It will ask you what you are willing to lose. It will list a number of memories, each clearly related to a specific attribute. What's going to happen here is you're going to lose a couple of attribute points. You want to take one that you care about though, as backwards as that sounds. If you're a barbarian and you choose intelligence as your loss, the permanent stat gain that you get will actually only be a +1, which isn't what we're after. So choose a genuinely valuable stat to you when you have points in. Constitution is the easy one for most people, as generally you don't want to run Constitution low anyways. Then it will ask what memory you want to have replace it, and this is where you choose the stat you gain. Pick the stat that you want to have, and if you did it right with what you lost, you will instead gain 2 of your chosen stat permanently. You may be wondering about the loss part of this. Well, that counts as a curse, so again, any way that you have of removing curses removes this debuff, getting rid of it completely, making this purely a bonus, strictly a, hey, you have +2 to the stat that you chose permanently now with no negatives, and that is extremely solid. Then past this, we have a couple more incredible pieces of gear back in the city's main area itself. If you head to the Forge of the Nine area up in the northeast, you'll see a friendly face. This is Damon the Smith. Talk to him and he'll open up his shop to you, and I absolutely could not go further in this series without showing you his inventory, because this is absolute madness. He has a whole host of amazing stuff, but he has 2 of the best items in the entire game arguably as well. The first of which is the Legacy of the Masters. These are gloves, reasonably priced, and they simply give you +2 bonus to all attack and damage rolls with weapons, which is such ridiculous effectiveness gained for a single line of text from a single item. Then it also gives you +1 to strength saving throws just as a bonus, because why not? Then we have our second item here, which is somehow even better than that, somehow even stronger, the Armor of Persistence. This is heavy armor with 20 AC. It has an effect that reduces all instances of incoming damage by 2, and it gives you resistance for a 1d4 bonus on all saving throws, and more importantly, Blade Ward for just permanent half damage from bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, which essentially makes you an absolute tank in any sort of martial combat. This is just insanely strong armor. The only negative to it is how expensive it is, so this is definitely one to save up for if you have a heavy armor wielder in your party that you'd want to use this. After that, we'll stop quick at one more merchant before moving on. This vendor located at the Stormshore Armory's location over here, and this one is even marked as a vendor, which isn't something I'd often point you towards as it is a bit more obvious, but this one sells good enough things for me to make an exception for sure, most notably being a bow called the Dead Shot. 1d8 piercing damage, improved critical, which reduces the roll required to get a critical hit by 1, and keen attack, doubling your proficiency bonus when rolling ranged attacks unless you have disadvantage. Simply quite strong in a number of aspects, nothing else of note. Then to round this all up, we have a series of items that are all missable but sort of unlocked in a chain from one to the next, and to even get to the spot you have to do a bunch of questing first. I'll tell you where to get the required quests, but I won't go into the details of solving them, as that's not really what this is about, more just to tell you, hey, these items exist, this is what they are, and this is how you get them. That said, the Speak with Dead spell absolutely is your friend here. First, you have to head to the Open Hand Temple in Rivington. There's a murder afoot here, and you're here to solve it. And while the strange flying elephant celestial investigator has a firm suspect, you have the ability to also take part in this investigation too. Follow the quest to find more clues and report it to the investigator. They will send you to Elfsong Tavern in the lower city area to speak with their colleague. This will initiate the next quest in the chain, Investigate the Murders, where you are sent to protect people on the kill list. With the list in hand, it literally tells you where to go. If you stop the murder at the wine festival specifically, a fight will break out, and one of the bodies will have the Tombstone Shop key. This is important for later. After investigating a certain potential murder on the western side, you will have finally killed the actual person responsible for these, and on their body will be a note that advances the quest, and a bag of hands. I know it's weird, but take the bag of hands. Then head to this location in the northeast of the lower city to arrive at, aptly, the Tombstone Shop. Use the key that we picked up earlier to get in. Then in the office there is a painting on the southwest wall. Take it off of the wall and press the button that was hidden behind it to make the bookshelf slide out of the way and reveal a door. Now that we have the passphrase from the quest and the bag of hands, talk to the door and you will be let through. Follow this path until you reach some people and, well, you want to mercilessly slaughter them, honestly. Kill them all. This doesn't change what happens next, but it does does let you loot them, and on their bodies they have a ton of good stuff. First up then is the Shield of the Undevout. +2 to AC, enemies have disadvantage on saving throws to avoid being feared, you get an additional level 1 spell slot, which is great too, and it has Shield Bash, letting you use your reaction to knock enemies prone if they hit you. Past that, we have a full armor set that is also on these bodies, the Blackguard set. The chest is 19 AC, heavy armor, all incoming damage reduced by 1, and advantage on wisdom saving throws, really solid. The gloves let you use inflict wounds once per long rest, and give you +1 to strength saving throws, and also +1 to attack just in general, which is nice too. Then the boots give you permanent long strider for just a general movement speed bonus, then also athletics +1. A nice tidy collection of gear from just killing some enemies that you might not otherwise. Behind them then is the door to the Murder Tribunal, where you can unlock our final item. This is in fact a known questline. It's not like it's invisible, it's not like you just have to talk to some random NPC who's not even marked in the map, but what makes these items obscure is how you go about getting them. You are encouraged not to kill that last group of enemies for the pile of items they get, and in here you are encouraged, at least in the good guy route, to, well, not offer yourself to Baal. That said, it is of course nice to know what you get if you do, and the little hidden part of this that no one will tell you about is that if you do go with Baal here, and you take part in all of this, you will unlock a unique shop back in the next room over with the Echo of Abazagal. He sells a number of interesting things, but most powerful among them is probably the bhaalist armor. This is light armor with 14 AC, and it makes enemies within 2 meters of the wearer vulnerable to piercing damage, so double damage, unless they are already resistant or immune to it. And as a bonus, it has +2 to initiative rolls too, because why wouldn't it? And that's it, everyone. Another quite sizable collection of items to make yourself stronger and build in more niche and interesting ways through your Baldur's Gate journey. And even a permanent stat buff too, which can be quite powerful. I hope you've enjoyed this collection of things and how and where to get them, and I hope that they make your continued adventure even more enjoyable. Like if you liked the video, subscribe with the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.